take it in, it's parallel, and then we take it to 90 degrees, caress your miniature. Do you need to worry about painting tiny details? Do you need a tiny brush to be able to do it? And do you even need steady hands? No, to all of the above. So in today's video, we're going to be covering that. We're going to be using a great big brush to do high quality painting with dry brushing on some small details. If you're using slap chop or anything like that, anything that will improve your dry brushing will improve your final results for that. So a great follow-up for that. Also on that subject, if you're not subscribed and you want to see how this guy goes, this is going to be the most comprehensive tutorial we've ever done on the channel. It's taken quite a while to edit, and we're making the most educational video we can about how to improve your game using contrast paints. Painting's fun, right? Subscribe if you're keen to see that. That'll land in the next couple of weeks for the holiday break. It's freezing. We love dry brushing. We get a pretty good result here. Let us know what you think, and stick around to the end for the announcement of the winners of our recent competition. Okay, so we have an intimidating prospect ahead of us. We're going to be painting the staff from the Lord of Change kit. Now the GW one, which I'm using as a reference piece, it's fairly simple. Basically, the further out it gets, the lighter it gets, and the further in it gets, the deeper and darker it gets. So dry brushing is a perfect technique for this. We have our stuff, it's been nicely prepped. Let's rock on. Unsurprisingly for everyone, we're going to be using Series D for this. And I think I'm going to go for, there's not really any access issues for this piece, so I'm probably mostly going to be using these two. I mean, I could grab the medium, but I'll go and get that if I need it later. Okay, so first steps first, we're going to put down a really good base coat. Make sure that your paints are mixed nicely, and we're covering over black here, so we're not going to get, you know, an insanely bright color coat immediately. What we're going to be doing is leaning into a color that's already on the model elsewhere, and for me that's going to be Cantor Blue. If you're curious why it's Cantor Blue, it's because Pete the Wargamer used that and I've copied his paint scheme, so I can't accept any responsibility for that being a really good choice of color. Do not use McCrag Blue. It's really matte and it causes big problems with dry brushing, so I would avoid that at all costs. It's not a bad color, brilliant for Space Marines, but yeah, for this technique, matte paints aren't very helpful. Everything from GW tends to be a bit satin finish, which is perfect for it. Easy stuff here for the base coating. Big brush, one drop off the back of the brush, work that in, and straight away, let's get some deep colors involved, deep and dark. I'm going to get a little bit of Huldra Blue involved in that mix. Now you'll notice that I'm mixing not with the brush that I'm going to be base coating with. That's because I don't ever saturate my dry brushes. It's a really important part of the technique. There's no reason to, don't do it, you don't need to. Right, so this is pretty easy. We're just going to base coat this. You can do it with stippling, tap, 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 or you can do it with kind of wiping. Whatever you do, just make sure you get it all over, in the recesses especially. Okay, base coat's down. I'm going to take the opportunity to clean my brush a little. Doing this is going to give me a lot of working space on my palette that's already in the right color spectrum. That's really good for testing stuff, as well as it obviously being a very good thing to clean your brushes as you go, because then you have less cleaning to do at the end. Now we're going to line up all the different colors that we're going to be using in order on a palette, and that's basically just to allow us to get to them as fast as possible throughout the painting process. We're going to be working fairly quickly, hopefully, and having them all ready and lined up is really, really useful. Now we are ready with everything we need. We might need some Lamy Medium or the Achillean Green, but we'll leave that for a little bit. So this is fully dried. I'm going to be sticking with the extra large. Maybe I'll drop down to the large, but this feels fine for now. Okay, we're going to be dragging our paints into each other. Always twisting the brush, get it all over. And then it's pretty simple stuff. We're going to dry brush it, and we're going to dry brush it heavily at first, hitting a large proportion of the areas apart from the very recesses. Don't expect to see crazy jumps up in color here. This is a heavy overbrush. If you're familiar with the slap chop video that Rob brought out, it's just heavy overbrushing. It's a really good technique. It's very useful, and it's been really popular with high quality army painters for a long time. So it's pretty nice that he brought it to people's attention so well. Now we've still got some of the previous layer of paint in. That's fine. We're going to go for a pure coat of the Cantor, or at least we've only taken Cantor Blue, even if it is mixing with a bit of Huldra that's still in the brush. As we go, it might not be super clear on camera because I can't show you how hard I'm pressing, but I'm going to be holding it more gently and I'm going to be pressing less. So rather than holding it here and being all stiff and rigid, holding it a little bit further back and being a little bit loose with your wrist. Dry brushing's on feel, guys. It's a very tactile technique, so just go like you feel it's less pressure being put on the brush. That'll probably be absolutely fine. When you've got paint beginning to stop exiting from the brush, rather than going back for more paint, go back to your palette, your dampening pad, and get some more moisture. That will help the paint leave the brush more easily. And then rather than loading it up and loading it up and loading it up, you're going to help clean it, help clean it, help clean it. And you'll end up with brushes that last forever. And also, paint in this industry is designed to be diluted. So you'll be getting a higher quality of paint also. Now, big color jump. We're going into the Techless blue. Just the same as before. We're always aiming for a mix that looks 50-50. That does not mean it is a 50-50 mix. Some colors are stronger than others, and not all colors were created equal in terms of coverage. That's looking okay. Looser again. Take your time. We're going to be putting down like 12 layers of high quality at incredible speed. You don't need to speed this technique up anymore. If you were layering this, this would take you forever. So yeah, don't be impatient. It's already going really well. Okay, so we said it's quite a big jump into the next color. Luckily, we've got some of our previous colors still in the brush. So that's going to try and keep things coherent for us. My brush is a little bit wet, so I'm going to work it off and work it off. And all the while, I'm mixing this color with the previous color in the brush, so that's going to soften this transition a bit more. Real jump up in brightness now. See, I'm holding it loosely. Basically only holding it with 3 fingers, not 4 in total. Fewer fingers, less pressure, less stability, and less paint being aggressively pushed off our brush. Very simple. I'm still getting it from all aspects. And again, we're not going to go right scooping into the paint. We're going to go back to the palette, back to the dampening pad. We're going back for lubrication, and that's just going to help the paint leave, rather than adding more and more paint to our bristles, keeping them dry, drying it out, and doing nasty old school dry brushing. That type of technique only really works for bricks or areas that you do want to do, you know, that look chalky or dry. All right, looking good. Big jump now. Lothern blues join the party. All the elf colors. I wonder how they'd feel about helping Kairos out. Probably not great. Soft pressure. Gently buffing, guys. We want to hit all aspects. Details like this, we have to go like this to hit this curve. We have to go like this to hit this curve. We have to go like this to hit it from below. Or you just paint everything with little circles. You don't have to think about it. If you want to particularly hit it from one angle, by all means, get in there. I know how many mistakes I make, and I know that this helps me make less mistakes, so this is the way that I default to. Okay, I'm going for pure, and again, by pure, I mean, we're not adding any of our previous color, but we do have it in the brush, we do have it on the palette. Take a little bit of moisture, awaken it, and soften it, just as important. That's less properly soft touch at this point. If there's any areas you can't hit because your brush is too big and you don't want to change brushes because you're lazy, which is obviously what I'm doing, you can do what's called a rolling highlight. You take your brush in here at this angle to the piece. So I want to hit this little aspect here, take it in, it's parallel, and then we take it to 90 degrees. And you can do that both ways. You see we perfectly hit it there. So it's a very, very useful technique. That's what you do when you paint like this. It's just you don't quite realize. The intent is very important with dry brushing. If you mean to hit an area and you try to hit an area, you'll probably just hit that area. See there? I can even get edge highlights in. At this stage, it's going to feel like you're going faster. That's cool, but don't let that make you feel like you can suddenly start rushing. Every layer is a foundation for the next layer. So if you start rushing, you're going to cock up, you're going to miss somewhere, and you'll end up going from this color to this color, rather than this color to this color to this color. Don't miss any steps. Oh, he says. Luckily we noticed that right away. That would have been bad all over the model. Keep it soft, very soft. Not trying to do lazy dry brushing here, trying to do fancy dry brushing. Now, as we jump to colors that have got a higher percentage of white in, they're going to cover more easily. They're also going to look chalky more easily. So either you need to cover less of the mini, you will go faster and faster, just don't rush. So important to not rush at this stage. I have to fight it constantly because, oh, this is exciting, I'm nearly finished. Just try and be a little bit more patient and you will be rewarded. Okay, blue horror. So obviously this has got a huge percentage of white in it in comparison to our previous color. See on the palette, so different from anything we've used so far. Work it in, work it off the brush, back to the dampening pad, dilute it, mix it in with the previous step, proceed with caution, test it on the palette. That's looking good. Super soft. Caress your miniature. Here we go. If you want to go back in and edge highlight these, you absolutely could enhance the details. Cannot be gentle enough at this stage, guys. Your brush will have got stiffer as it's got more paint on it as well, if you started off with a completely clean brush, so it's going to behave a little bit more like a scrubbing brush or a stiff brush. Be aware of it, work with it. On that note, a bit more water than I've been putting in previously. Wet my brush more than I have been previously. Let's give us a little clean now, and that will help encourage us to do a really high quality paint job, and we'll be able to go softer more easily. It's more forgiving. Do not go and dip it in your paint water. I never dip my brushes in my paint water unless I'm doing like a full thorough clean. And something that I'm going to do is I'll take my brush to the edge of my palette and I'm just going to scrape it off the corner. What I mean by that, just to be more helpful, is doing this. Okay, feeling softer, looking cleaner. Good to rock on again. Bristles not too wet. If the bristles are too wet, more will come off. So take a little bit, take a little bit. Still a scary jump, so we're going to go super, super cautiously. And test it somewhere that I think it'll work well. I cannot put into words how soft I am being, guys. Maybe you can tell from the sound, but literally, like, we're on edge highlighting level here. You can see on this section. Super soft. Look at an edge, pick it, highlight it. No excuse to not hold your miniature from the right angle. Turn it round, however awkward it is. Make it so you can hit those lines that you need to. If you've got any details like this bubble here, that's going to make it hard to get it on your downstrokes. You've got to be more careful with your upstroke. You can even highlight inside details. Put the brush in, don't apply pressure, apply a bit more carefully. Pull it out. Back for more moisture, not for more paint. It's just really going to soften it up. Now in theory, once we've tested it, that should allow us to be a little bit less cautious. Feeling okay. I'm not buffing because I don't want to hit this all over as much as I did with this technique. This is going for specific edges. Now, if anyone has an attention span like mine, now's the point where we're into endurance mode. Ride it out. You'll be finished soon. We just did like 2 hours worth of layering in not very long. Stick with it, it'll be worth it. If you thought that was worrying, the most worrying stage remains. This is why you need a physical palette, guys. You cannot do this at the same level without a physical palette. It's been designed for this. It's helpful. My brush is looking happier than it did at the beginning almost. All right, super worrying. Basically pure paint. Manchester's even sending us the anxiety police, so let's go. I mean, I could change down brush to make my life easier at this point, but I'm stubborn. pretty good. I think maybe we didn't have enough of the mid-tone in there, but it's still looking pretty tasty. That was the tech list. Maybe we should have transitioned to it a bit earlier and a bit harder. There's always room though, so even stubborn me will admit it's time to go to a baby brush. So going all the way down to a small here. The smaller the brush, the faster paint will dry out. So I'm going to work from my hand, just to speed up these steps. And these I think of as the steps that I'm doing to add a foundation for jumping to white. Wow, I've got the entirety of the back top. Okay, stick with a GW, let's use some autumn grey. Mix it in our previous colour. At the top of our bauble gem things, whatever they are. I'm going to go for a pure version of the colour. Okay, got a bit of danger white on our palette. That's bold titanium white from Pro Acryl Monument Hobbies. Strong. I will not be using it on its own. I'll be mixing it with the previous colour. Just using it in a few select places to pop. I think this would have looked amazing in metallic. Too late. Far too late. There we go. So after all that dry brushing, we have a single step left. Now we could tint it towards this one. I'm going to test on our palette. Again, we've got this here for a reason. That's a Kellyan green. That's Pterodon turquoise, which I know it's got some green in it, but it always makes me think of like the sea or snow or ice. I think we'll go for that one. We could regret this. Contrast medium, big dollop, hold your blue. We might not need to add anything, but let's see. Now we're going to work pretty fast here. Take the entire thing, lick a finger, and run it over the raised areas. It's extremely technical. You can aim for the recesses if you want. It's entirely up for you, up to you. I prefer to go about it this way. Work quick. You could use a microfiber cloth as well. But again, it's just not as tactile as fingers at all. If you want, for any reason, of course, you can go in there and pull out excess. Don't be too physical or too abrasive. You might need to run around some details. If you put any water in there, you definitely want more medium than water. Like maximum 1 part water to 3 parts medium, I would say. If you're wondering why I'm not using a brush will just pull all of this off. That capillary action is just going to wick everything up from the recesses and the raised areas. Primarily, we want to just take stuff off the raised areas. Leave those white bits. All right, there we go. So Fancy stuff. If that was metallic, it would look insane. I still do kind of regret that now. And maybe we can do a final highlight here just to bring these tip-top bits back out again. Looking pretty badass though. Sneak a bit of Wolfram. And it's just what we've been doing before. You know the deal by now. All right, so that's it. Turned out really well. Hopefully you guys like the thorough, in-depth nature of this one. We're getting a lot more questions about specifically how to achieve high quality dry brushing at the moment. I think it's probably Slapchop related, fair to say that. It's pretty systematic, it's pretty easy. If you've got any more questions at all, or you'd like us to cover a particular topic like stipple transitions or something like that, please let us know. And please subscribe and check out when it drops the video on this chap, because it was a big one. It's taking quite a lot of effort to edit something that is trying to be that educational. It's basically a lesson, and we're trying to make it work in the same format that we make it work in person, in a demo, online, in a tutorial. That's it. I have to announce the winners. Thank you so much for all of your input about small hobby spaces. Really, really enjoyed it. All of them have been read, all of them have been clocked, and there was definitely some consistent themes. Firstly, our winner with some brilliant tips for avoiding cats in wet palettes on tables, just in general, they're chaos, aren't they, was Myrmidon. So thank you for that. We also had a few kind of regular themes that came throughout. I've picked out a few names that covered them. We will copy these into the pinned comment underneath this video and in the video that was about small desks. Go and check that out. We had some great stuff from Sea Mucky, Fazrox, and Anomaly. A lot of them about keeping things modular, working with small spaces, desk trays, stuff like that, so you can get your hobby in however you need to. And then ultimately also making sure that you're in good lighting and that you're comfortable. Very, very, very important there. So great points, guys. Any of you who mentioned those in addition, thank you for your input. It's all been read and it will definitely help inform the next episode of that series. I'm gonna be sorting out some trunking and stuff and pimping my cabinets a little bit. I'm also gonna start the great clear up of my desk. I have too much stuff. Things will have to go in the bin. It will be traumatic. We'll get through it. Anyway, thank you for checking out this video. Any questions you have about the technique, any suggestions you have for follow-ups to this, any specific paint jobs, or you want to see it done in a tank, anything like that, let us know and we will give you all the dry brushing knowledge you need to smash it out the park and improve your paint.